For all those concerned that the White House is hiding Epstein files, we're learning tonight from ABC News that the DOJ is mulling the release of the transcript of its interview with Epstein associate and felon Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, that would be wise, but probably wouldn't satisfy the critics. In the meantime, speculation continues to swirl about what Maxwell actually told the DOJ during her 9 hours over 2 days when she spoke with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche last month. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell, according to reports, said nothing during the interview that would be harmful to President Donald Trump, telling Blanche that Trump had never done anything in her presence that would have caused concern, according to sources familiar with what Maxwell said. That's from ABC. It's interesting. But that wasn't all the Epstein news out there today. The House Oversight Committee issued a flurry of subpoenas in the matter, and the recipients are familiar figures. Here to discuss is House Oversight Chair James Comer. Congressman, is the Oversight Committee prepared to enter into a legal battle with the DOJ over the Epstein files? You guys want the Clintons to tell us what they know about this, and many others. We'll put up the list again so everyone can see.
Yeah, we're going to do what we said we would do and what I think the American people want. We're going to get the truth to the American people. I don't think we'll have to put up a fight with the Department of Justice because President Trump has said he's going to release the Epstein files. I take him at his word. Our House Oversight Committee had a subcommittee meeting the last week in August when we were in Washington, and they voted in a bipartisan manner not only to subpoena the Epstein files, but also to subpoena a whole list of people that were supposedly involved in some form or fashion with the Epstein investigation, including 6 former attorneys general, as well as, of course, Bill and Hillary Clinton. So we're serious about this. The media has tried to make it out that Republicans didn't want to get to the bottom of this. The Republicans didn't want to be transparent. I can assure you Republicans want transparency more than Democrats, and we're going to do our job. We're going to provide oversight, and I think that we've got an administration that wants to be transparent. So I'm anxious to get started with this, and hopefully we'll be bringing people in very soon to depose them and interview them.
Well, the Clintons aren't going to be deposed. I mean, they're going to fight this till the last man standing here. I mean, if you don't think federal subpoena of Hillary Clinton's going to matter, I mean, she bleached her blackberries or had her staff do it.
Well, it's going to be difficult. There have been 2 presidents in the last century that have been subpoenaed by Congress. I believe that was Harry Truman and Donald Trump, and neither ended up testifying in front of Congress. But we're going to do everything we can. This is different because this subpoena was the direct result of a committee vote, and it was a bipartisan committee vote. The Democrats made a motion in the Oversight Subcommittee to subpoena the Epstein documents, and then Scott Perry from Pennsylvania, a good Republican member, he amended their motion to include subpoenaing the Clintons as well as all the attorneys general who were involved in the Epstein investigation, and the Democrats voted for it. I don't know that they realized what they voted for, but they voted for a subpoena for the Clintons, and because it was voted on by Congress in a bipartisan manner, I think that'll have good standing in court.
All right. Well, Congressman, other huge news. President Trump is threatening a federal takeover of Washington, D.C. Obviously, crime is a huge problem in D.C., but now news that an ex-DOJ staffer, otherwise known as Big Balls, was attacked. Watch this.
By the way, I have to say that somebody from DOJ was very badly hurt last night. You saw that. A young man who was beat up by a bunch of thugs in D.C. And either they're going to straighten their act out in the terms of government and in terms of protection, or we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run.
Elon Musk had posted on X that this individual had tried to stop a group of young men from assaulting a woman in her car at night, and they turned on him and beat him very badly. Congressman, look, there are permanent tents outside Union Station with F Trump on them and Palestinian. I mean, they seem like they're permanent structures all over D.C. It is a total embarrassment that this city looks the way it does as our nation's capital, and then the crime is a whole separate problem.
It is, and it's not a very well-run city. I think the Mayor Bowser, is probably as good as you're going to get in a city that's about 97% Democrat. The problem I've found with Washington, D.C., more than anything, is the liberal city council. I mean, they don't want to arrest anyone. They don't want to incarcerate anyone. They're so politically correct. They're afraid to take a position that would offend the anti-Semitic base of the Democrat Party there in Washington, D.C. And what you have is a city that's just has a crime rate that's out of control. So I think with President Trump threatening this, he's probably got a more than willing Congress that would go along with that. So we're going to hear from the mayor in September. We're going to have a committee hearing about Washington, D.C., and that's going to be a big topic, whether or not the U.S. government's going to have to go in and take over the city, as President Trump suggested.
Now, even a temporary takeover might help. But, Congressman, thank you very much. We'll be following both of these stories.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.